Okay, so good morning, everybody. We're getting to noontime, but it's great to be here back at DLD. It's called the Innovation Festival. Sure feels like a festival to me. This week I'm practically working for Yossi Vardi, so I'm giving 2 speeches in all the 25 conferences that are taking place in Israel. But it's exciting. It's exciting to see how new faces are joining in. I'm especially thrilled here to see the number of delegations and visitors from abroad, from the business sector, from the public sector, all coming here really to share with us the achievements of the Israeli innovation ecosystem, but more importantly, to build new collaboration for our mutual benefit. So very glad to be here, and actually very glad to be following the panel that just took place, because I think having a panel on building an Israeli unicorn was probably something more of a science fiction section 15 years ago, and yet we saw real unicorns on the stage, and there are so many of them, not just in software, internet, and semiconductors, but actually also in medical devices and pharmaceuticals and so on. So we're certainly getting to age, but what I would like to talk to you today is a little bit reflect on where we are, but then share with you what I think are our challenges and where does the Israel Innovation Authority sees its main missions for the next 2 decades. Because we certainly plan to be here 20 years from now, even stronger than we are today. So looking back indeed, and DLD is an example of that, these are excellent times for Israeli innovation. You see some of the indicators. They actually join the more traditional indicators. Israel is a leading country in terms of our national R&D investment as a percentage of GDP. But you certainly see the industry growing. The pipeline of new startups is not disappearing. It's actually getting stronger and stronger. But in addition to that, you see more multinational companies coming to Israel, not just American, European. Asia has discovered Israel in the recent years. China, Japan, Korea, Singapore, Taiwan. They're all here, and they come to enjoy the fountain of innovation. But you also see that the companies are starting to become bigger. And the ecosystem is maturing. So as Israelis, we were even 15 years ago crying out, why don't we have large companies? Then everybody talked about a big Nokia. Nobody says that anymore. I don't know why. But definitely what we see today is that the ecosystem is maturing. And even companies which are being acquired, and acquisitions are a part of the technology world, do so at a much later stage, when they're already operate as whole companies, selling significant revenues. The good thing about Israel is that most of the entrepreneurs selling their companies actually go back and start a new company. We don't have golf courses here. Nobody retires. They go back to the game. Many times as CEOs and founders, sometimes, as we saw here, as investors, mentors. And that's okay as well. So as such, the experience gained in their previous company is now being put to the use of the future companies as such. And we're seeing something we did not see so often. We're seeing Israeli companies on the acquiring side. More and more times we read in our economic newspapers about an Israeli company buying a company, either Israeli or foreign, and this is certainly something which is very positive on our mind. Mellanox acquiring for $800 million EasyChip, and this is just one example, is a transaction we couldn't imagine not so long ago. And this, of course, as I've said, comes from having experienced entrepreneurs, but also having experienced investors. Thank God for that, selling a company for $100 million does not get to the front page of our papers. This is a non-event. Investors understand that if they want to create value, and a lot of the value is nowadays created in the private market and not in the public market, they need to have patience. So our financing market have matured as well. And this is a very powerful combination that is driving what we see today in Israel, as I've said, a very mature ecosystem. But after we settle the good things and we're happy, being Israelis, we cannot be satisfied. And what we think and what we tell, both within the government and also to the private sector, is that these 25 years of growth are now reaching a plateau. And if we want to continue towards the next leap, this is what we should be aiming for. The past 25 years have mostly been around technology. The next 25 years have to be about increasing economic impact. And I'll tell you in a minute what that means. But it is clear that by just continuing doing what we've done, we will not be able to make the next leap which we think is coming up. And there are challenges, of course. If we just go out and say, okay, our challenge is to keep Israel as a leading innovation hub, and in the same way that today we're ranked number 1, number 2, number 3, doesn't matter. We're on the podium of medals when it comes to looking at innovation hubs. We want to stay there. Well, guess what? It's becoming very, very difficult to do so, because every country that we have people from Australia to Canada, from Japan to Chile, Eastern Europe, everywhere, governments are putting more and more resources into innovation, into building innovation hubs, into creating those assets that Israel has done. It's becoming more and more competitive. One needs to handle that, and we'll share how we do it. Definitely, as such, Israel is finding it hard to keep up with the government investing. Because from our side, the expenditure on R&D declines. True private sector comes in, but not fully. And certainly, competition in an ever-changing market is something we should take into consideration. But in our mind, the most important challenge that we have is really around human capital. Even today, we are in shortage of, it says engineers or programmers, but let's generalize it for people who can be a part of the knowledge industry and of the knowledge economy. Israel has a lot of them. We are ranked very highly. If you look into the number we have per capita or per anything else, it's very high, but it's not enough. With over 300 multinational companies with R&D centers here, with more and more Tabulas and Gets and other companies who are growing, we need more people. We need more people to come in and generate. At the end of the day, an innovation ecosystem is first and foremost about human capital. We cannot compromise the quality of the people, but we certainly need more quantity. Without that, we will not be able to maintain the growth of the ecosystem. And in the next decade, we've analyzed that we're in shortage of over 10,000 people. This is significant. And certainly, by the way, this is not something that can be solved overnight. Unfortunately, human capital is tough to crack and takes time. But I'll share with you some of the things we are doing in order to address this challenge, which I would claim is also a great opportunity to expand the reach of high-tech and innovation to bigger parts of the Israeli economy and to bigger parts of the Israeli population. Because when we're looking for those pools of capital, and we're pretty much squeezed the one we have. So we're very good. We have 8,200 in the other units, and we have amazing research universities and great faculties, but we've kind of maximized that resources. We need to look for new resources. Thankfully, luckily for us, a lot of them are right here. We don't have to go very far to find them. In the early 90s, we got an infusion of 1 million immigrants from the former Soviet Union. Very big social challenge, amazing blessing for the industry. We're not going to get 1 million more from Russia or anywhere else. We need to start collecting them. And it's a multifaceted effort. And we're doing literally 15 different things in order to bring the pool of capital. Some of them are long-term. We are now expanding the number of students studying in the relevant faculties in the universities and colleges, computer science, electronical engineers, and so on. We even go earlier to the schools themselves to help with orientation, to help people make the right choices that would later bring them on. But these are things that will only take impact 5 to 10 years from now. This is a long-term effort. As such, we need to do more with these pools of capital. Let's start with women. This is not an ethical question. It's not a political question. It's not a moral question. We cannot afford to say 50% of the population, it's over 50%, but 50% of the population, yeah, we don't care, right? I mean, just stick with it. Doesn't work. And we've analyzed that. It's a leaky pipeline. We're losing women all along the way, girls and young ladies, and at any stage we're losing them. And we're now taking active action to bring them in a more active way into the game. The same would go to pools of capital which are unique to this country. Members of the Arab community, about 1 million people living in this country. The good news, they go through the same education system, go to the Technion, first-year students in computer science, EE, and so on. Over 20% are Arabs. This is amazing. It's great news. That wasn't the case 5 years ago. There's still less than 5% of the high-tech workforce. We need to bridge that gap. And the Innovation Authority is taking action with active entrepreneurship programs, with encouragement for employers to take action and bring those players in. The same goes to the ultra-Orthodox, the Haredim. Different challenges. They don't go through the same education systems. And yes, there are gaps. English, a notable one that we have to bridge. But they have amazing learning skills. These people know how to study. They have great motivation. And our job in these two communities is to create the role models, to facilitate, to show that it's possible to maintain your traditional way of life, your culture, and yet be a contributing member, in our case, to the innovation ecosystem. When we look outside, we also want to tap the global human capital. We don't want Israeli companies to open R&D centers outside of Israel. We want them to be able to bring selectively those people into the country. As such, we're trying to target two audiences. One is highly skilled members of the workforce, basically employees. And now we're working with the Immigration Authority and the Ministry of Finance to set up a fast track where companies will be able to, based on a pre-ruling done by the Innovation Authority, bring workers from abroad that will contribute their knowledge, that will bring new paradigms of innovation, that will help them grow within our system. The same thing is about entrepreneurs' visas. And actually, in the very next few weeks, we will be launching a new program focusing on visas for entrepreneurs. As such, we will be calling upon the best and brightest entrepreneurs from everywhere to come to Startup Nation and start their companies here. As part of that, we will be selecting about a dozen landing pads, or landing platforms, shall I say, accelerators, incubators, who should be helpful to those entrepreneurs to manage their way around the ecosystem. And after doing that, and assuming you're an entrepreneur and you have a great idea, and that idea has been approved, you'll be able to get a visa, set up your company here, and work here up until 5 years. This is something new for this country. We haven't done that in the past. And our main motivation, as I've said, is to blend and spice our ecosystem with the best and brightest talent. We have a lot to offer. We want to enjoy the fruits of innovation from both sides. So the government is committed to energize this growth, and the Innovation Authority is the main entity to move all these issues and many others forward. Through international collaboration, through working internally, we are determined not just to remain on the innovation peak, but actually to bring up the rest of the economy with us. So, and as that, we'll be doing a lot of our traditional missions, but we'll be adding new ones to our menu, working with traditional industries like food, plastic, steel, agriculture, bringing in other parts of the population, as I talked about, to solve the human capital challenge, but also to make sure that the next 2 decades growth is going to be inclusive and will be evenly distributed between the different parts of the population. These are some of our challenges in the year to come. They will all be done through collaboration. International collaboration is probably our most important value. Israel was always a big part of the global fabric, investor-wise, market-wise, and talent-wise, and we intend to do so even more. So in the years to come, we have a lot to do. We want to keep the good things that we have because high-tech continues to be a strategic asset of this country. There's no other business plan for Israel but being a knowledge economy. And as such, from the government side, we want to perfect the public-private partnership model that we have. And through the Innovation Authority, make sure that we better serve the needs of the innovators, the researchers and entrepreneurs in order to build the next technology leap and the next economic leap that we all believe can be done. Thank you very much. Enjoy DLD.